dead.
World Card Game Federation here with another episode of Decked. We're going to be going over the most recent FanZ TCG CRD. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know up front that I'm going to have a lot of unpopular opinions. There's probably going to be a lot of things you don't want to hear. If you're the kind of person who doesn't like disagreement, feel free to move on to the next video. We're going to go and start off with something that's really controversial but really never needed to be. Was that FanZ has ruled in that direction. I remember Panini was considering it in one of their very last postings on their website ages ago. They were saying, should drills have memory? To me, it feels like this was pretty late to the game, but the time is showing us it is now needed to be a part of the game. So on the surface, I'm going to let you know I do agree that drills should have memory. Like we said, we've seen with, especially, like we said, it seems like Bicycle Kick got us all thinking about how we need to be mindful of how many times a person can use and abuse a card in one combat. Well, like we said, this does cause unfair advantage in certain styles. I think we all got real winded playing against Orange Retribution with the same drills getting used 2-3 times in combat. So, of course, it's not the worst reign of terror the game had ever known, but it's had the makings. If we didn't, at this point, step in and curtail it, we basically are going to be running anti-drill suites for years to come. This ruling, of course, comes late in the game, and this means that the shift is going to feel radical to us players. The suddenness could leave a bad taste in our mouths, who've been using, styles like Orange for a long time. The reality is, if this ruling was something that they had thought of at the start of the game, cards and strategies could have been built up and then created around the rule. An example is that ones that would allow multiple uses of a drill to be used in a combat and basically made the drill memory rule more of a strategy than an actual kneecapping. Think a power mimic would be a very common capability. Duplicating drills, allowing multiple uses of drills in a combat would have been part of many sets had this rule simply been included sooner. Like we said, in this instance, like we said, FanZ saw a growing problem, stepped in, intervened. This issue, if left unchecked, could easily have stagnated the entire game. Even our own WCGF audience has grown attentive to the frequency and use of Orange Retribution decks. So I'm going to side with FanZ on this one, but I also understand the anger of players who find it abrupt and painful. If it's any comfort to know, if Panini had kept supporting the game, they would probably have adopted this rule as soon as we got past set 7. Smaller changes. The King Cold Errata, no opinion, just clarified usage. It's fine. Like we said, some people could be a rules lawyer and say it did this or did that. Red Scanning Drill, like we said, this change was just made to avoid infinite loops. Like we said, you can have somebody who lowers anger, destroys the top, to lower anger, then destroys the top, and basically loop forever. That's a good update. Glad we caught it before it actually ruined anything. The Orange Meditation, of course, that always needed to be banished after use. Why it wasn't initially, I can't fathom. I think they think that Orange doesn't recycle enough cards, be able to pull them back out of the discard. I've faced plenty of Orange Yamchas that don't have a problem doing that. Let's see, Orange Bicycle Kick, yep, identical situation to Orange Meditation. There's no reason with that kind of combo potential not to be removed after use. In the card game I've been building on my own, which don't worry, I'm still working on a way to show it to you guys, I have found some cards, if used more than once in a game, will actually unbalance it. I'm sure the developers FanZ will see that potential more often now, seeing Bicycle Kick getting reused and reused and reused and searched out because of its silly energy combat status. Okay, Checkup Drill. This is one where I firsthand experienced the abuse of it, so I understand why they did it. Like we said, the card was entirely too abusable. Push it in, pull it out. Keep pushing the drill into your life deck, pull it back out, get another block. Basically, if FanZ hadn't limited it, we would have house ruled it as a limited card. Like we said, I've actually witnessed it used 3 times in one combat, and the person never themselves drew their own block. That's an A+ ruling for me. Alright, Legacy bonus rules. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play both sides of this one, so like we said, we'll start off with the obvious. On the surface, it seems spiteful. Disallowing adding new rules to restrict MPs capable of using the frozen mastery seems unnecessary on the surface. I want to, like we said, we'll address from both sides. On the sides of us players, it seems to be motivated by ill will towards Panini and to players who once piloted these decks to great success. Restricting these MPs from getting the benefits of the fantasy seems pointless and renders them unable to reap the rewards of keeping with the hobby and limits the new ideas from sprouting, And to an extent, players will be right. It's very tough to imagine wanting to play these older MPs and not plan new strategies with more modern cards around them. For developers, a different issue arises, one of which era and rulings were active at the time. See, on behalf of the developers, I would start by saying players experience this feeling of being shut down, that it isn't because some MPs are good and others bad. I generally don't believe tiers exist. Well, we'll talk about that sometime. It is the MPs and masteries represent very different eras of the game. As such, the developers created some sets of cards with the firm belief that no MPs could ever be paired to the first generation masteries again. You get what I'm saying? 6 and forward. We should never have seen them come back. So sets 6 and forward were made with all set 1 masteries frozen and would stay frozen for good. But the game did not continue its commercial life, and those plans where masteries could be frozen since new ones would be out soon enough to replace them had to go out the window. See that cycle? Like we said, they were expecting the game to continue on, so having, the third mastery, basically you got the frozen one, 2 active ones, and then the next one will again turn the oldest one to frozen, and so on and so on. But that didn't happen. So what do we do? What do we do now that that's not going to continue? It's easy enough to tell if they really only had 2 sets of 6 masteries out at any given time. You can tell it right away. They only ever intended to have 2. So the choices they made in more modern card sets the choices that they've made in the modern card sets would unbalance the game if you allow the use of older masteries, Enraged and Devious. These are made so long ago that the modern cards simply put never had them in mind to interact with them. So remember, the development team's work would be done far in advance of the actual launch of any set. They would have to guess a lot in which direction the game would go. At that time, they were certain the frozen list would stay a thing and stay a part of the game. So they created these newer cards with no set 1 masteries in mind. So the CRD rulings for legacy bonuses would happen if the direction changes and you now have to manage several sets made with a frozen list in mind when the frozen list no longer applies. It's not a clean solution. It represents doing the best you can with what you have. So that being said, I can say I agree with doing some things to avoid abuse. Certain combinations were getting out of control, but I wouldn't have gone as far as they did with their restrictions. I personally wouldn't have restricted the Celestial MPs like this. If they want better representation of these MPs in the Fan Z meta, why on earth lock them out of key reason to bring them back? All the updated, level 1, Android 17, the new Android 18, the level 2, 16, and so on. Think about it. What was going to bring these guys out of the past, if not, being able to slot them back into their, original selves and maybe even pull out one of those older masteries? So, if they really feel these MPs could run away with the game, like Android 17, 18, 16, well, basically, like we said, if they feel that these MPs could run away with the game if allowed to have access to sets past 7, okay. But why restrict the MP stack itself? I don't have an answer to that. I don't see them. I don't see the problem allowing the MPs themselves, but like we said, actual cards, usable cards, in the game, fine. Set 8 and forward, that's fine. Legacy MPs can't use them, that's fine. But why restrict the new MPs that could breathe life into these old unused stacks? You got me. If I have to throw a guess at you guys, my only guess is that they're trying to avoid combos and strategies that they couldn't have foreseen. So a couple of things here to go. The card limits placed on these legacy mastery choices are a combination of wise and pointless. First one, Black Smoothness Drill. It's limited, like we said. I can see this because it was restricted in the old game, so that's not a big upset for me, but I also don't play black. Maybe it crippled you guys. I don't know. These limitations are present under the Legacy Thawing bonus. Let's see, Black Memories. The only potentially, let's see, this one's only potentially very effective when discarded from the hand for a devious effect. I can see why it would be limited, because it can gut 2/3 to 1/2 your opponent's hand. So I can see that being relatively, this is a good idea. You could foresee this as a problem in the future. So black strength display. Basically, it's an identical problem to black memories. It simply knocks too many cards out of your opponent's hands. You have to think about good and effective versus broken. Oh, assisted Kamehameha. This is another easy one to understand. Do you really think Krillin needed another Destructo disc? Do you really want to ball 7 into that many unstoppable attacks? So now you know why it's limited to 1. Red Flourish. The only thing I can think of here, the word here is things like Tien's Tri-Beam and other multi-use energy attacks. The combo potential is simply too high. Crits rocketing a player off like mad, with Red Enraged. Red Driving Knee, this makes sense above reasons. Like I said, just too much anger too quick. It gives you so much anger in one action that, well, this game wasn't made for that. Okay, unpopular opinion time. Everybody strap in. We're now down to limiting Unleashed. See, I think this needed to be 1 per deck for a long time now. Not only do I think it needed to be 1 per deck, I think it should have said that on the card from day 1. There's no reason this card should ever have existed in its original state. Developers, if you're hearing this video, you wanna direct message me and tell me what in the hay were you guys thinking when you made this card? Like I said, I personally hate this card. Now, in DBZ, the one trait... Okay, I'm sorry, you guys indulge me for a minute. The one... In the Dragon Ball Z cartoon, the one trait I hated most of all the villains, and some of the heroes even, is that they came upon their strength by easy means. They did not struggle or endeavor for their power. They were just strong. It's why I loathe Majin Buu and the little Trunks and Goten. Why I never thought of Cell as being better than Frieza. Unleashed is just like that. I play this card, and suddenly I'm many levels above you and have powers that should appear later in a match, throw off the whole flow, and even break the game. I will continue to lobby for this card to be 1 per deck until I'm old and gray. It just breaks a key part of the game, leveling, and was clearly never a balanced card, if all the errata is an indication. So that's going to do it for the CRDs for now. I'm sure we're going to have more unpopular opinions to come. Thanks for tuning in to WCGF Decked.